You want to know about the greatest love story never told? Let's talk about my great-grandparents. Let's talk about my grandfather who came here with nothing as an immigrant, met my grandmother. They built a home, a business, had 3 children. They were married for 74 years. My grandfather was 101 when my grandmother passed away. She was 91. And when I tell you he was throwing himself over the coffin at her funeral, blaming the doctors for her dying young. So I think the greatest love stories never told don't necessarily come from celebrities or people, which is not to say that they're not real people going through real life experiences. Of course they are. But I think there are so many beautiful stories that haven't been told because people aren't in the spotlight. Cawfee Talk. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cawfee Talk with Tara Cannistraci. Hope you guys had a good morning or a good day. I don't know what time you're listening to this podcast right now. I have in my hand 2 gifts. I'll show you my gifts. So in my coffee mug this morning, first of all, my coffee mug is a Cawfee Talk mug that my friend Linda got me. I love it so much. It's going to be my new mug for all my episodes. And in it, I am not having coffee. I am having tea. I got this tea that I love called Paris tea. My friend Gianna Palmenteri always gets me a big box of it every time I go to her house. And so that's what I'm having right now. It's really good and it kicks my butt a little bit with caffeine in a good way. It doesn't give me as much anxiety and it wakes me up. So good morning from New York and Paris. I did an interview recently and I wanted to talk about it. The girl in the interview asked me, how do I keep up with trends? And I don't, because I am not savvy with technology. I really don't know how to do that many things, but I have a producer who is younger than me who tells me things that I don't know. And one of the things she mentioned to me that's going on right now is something called cuffing season. And I don't know what cuffing season is, but I Googled it. And now I want to talk about it with you guys because I think it brings up a whole bunch of issues. So for those of you listening, I don't know who knows what it is. If you don't know what it is cuffing season is a time of the year, typically October, leading all the way up to before Valentine's Day, where single people look for a short-term relationship so they don't have to be alone for the winter months. Cuffing season. Is that because of like cuff? I don't know why it's called cuff. Is that like handcuff, like a temporary handcuff?
That's actually a good point. I think that's what it is. But I also think it has to do with, I understood it as like you're putting on clothes that goes all the way to your cuffs. I thought that. It's not, as I'm saying, it's not sounding right.
Doesn't seem to make sense.
My age is showing.
We'll just take that part out. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting topic because I was single for a very long time before I met my husband. I didn't meet him till I was 37. So I loved being single. Now, that may not be common, but I always loved my alone time. I treasure my alone time. Even now. And the reason why I wanted to do this podcast with a cup of coffee in hand is because maybe this is your alone time. You know, you're up, you're doing things in your house, you're, up before your kids have to go to school, or you're in the car driving to work and you have your alone time and you want to do it, hopefully listening to me. I would do that. I would wake up like 20 or 30 minutes before I knew, once I lived with my husband, he would be up so that I could make my coffee, have it by myself, do some things around the house, straighten up, like find my groove before I had to be anything to anyone. So I did enjoy my alone time. I still enjoy my alone time, which is probably very common for comedians. So I found this topic interesting because I do, as much as I do enjoy my alone time, let's face it, I wanted a partner at some point. I wanted to grow a different lifestyle with somebody. There are a ton of benefits to it. I don't knock it. But I always say I'm making compromises, not sacrifices, because I'm not totally giving something up. I'm getting something in exchange for the lack of my alone time. But it was just an interesting topic. Listen, I have friends that are my age that are still single. I make jokes about it on stage. I do think it's very funny, that I was single for so long and nobody ever thought that I would get married or be in a committed relationship. But one of my friends, it's so funny, she just started dating someone. I talk about this on stage. She had started to date someone and then she wouldn't even tell me about him because he was on parole. And I was like, oh. I was like, well, he sounds perfect because you're older and this guy's got to keep a job. He's got to stay sober and he's got a curfew, so he's not going to go anywhere. But I was like, he's a catch. He's already caught. But anyway, I know that it's hard. And if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast and you are single and you do want to meet someone more than just for cuffing season, I know it's like a jungle out there. So probably you should just come to one of my comedy shows and see if somebody else there is single and meet someone who obviously has good taste in comedy and New York Italians. No. But so cuffing season, that's a trend apparently. I don't know if it's a trend. I think they've named it something and now it's a trend because let me tell you something. That's like kind of a story old as time. You break up with somebody, before the holidays. For us, I think back in the day, I would say it was like after Christmas, so you didn't have to buy them anything for Christmas, and then maybe break up with them before Valentine's Day. It's a short term, really. That's a short term. That's a week and a half. That's staying with somebody. January is miserable, especially in New York. So I think that's probably, January feels like the longest month. March too, but March is my birthday. I'm a Pisces baby, so it doesn't feel that long. But I think that's common that people do that. Are there any like celebrities now? Is that like becoming a thing where certain celebrities are doing cuffing? Veneti? I'm asking Venetia.
I'm seeing a couple people that are getting back together.
It's about getting, people get back with their exes too. Let me tell you something about getting back with an ex. I'm going to speak very freely right now because the back and forth relationships, when you hit a certain age, it's over. If at a certain age you keep going back and forth with somebody and the relationship hasn't evolved, it's never going to. In my opinion, I don't believe in breaks after a certain age. So I'm going to say that. Was there anybody in particular?
There's a couple people that actually are getting back together. Do you know?
They're calling it cuffing season?
Well, not for them, but I'm just thinking about how it's cupping season and people are getting back together after breaking up in the summer, like Sabrina Carpenter and Barry Keoghan. I think that's how you say his name. They got back together. That girl who sung that song Espresso.
Yeah, it was all the rave in Europe too this year.
Oh my God, everybody loves that song. And then speaking of singers, another singer, an actor, got back together. J-Lo and Ben Affleck are reportedly back together. They got brunch.
I don't. That's a topic I don't even want to touch. I'm actually. This is the only thing I will say about that because I try hard not to talk anything celebrity talk because I don't. They give themselves enough attention. But there was a documentary out, and that kind of twisted me a little bit, called like The Greatest Love Story Never Told, that she put on, that she felt she had the greatest love story never told. Let me explain something. I take offense to, I don't take offense because whatever, rolls right off my shoulder. It doesn't affect me. I still got to wake up tomorrow morning and do my job. But I thought back to my great-grandparents when I saw the title, The Greatest Love Story Never Told. Immigrants, my grandfather came here with nothing, met my grandmother. They built a home, a business, had children from nothing. Now their great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren are literally living the American dream. I am living the American dream because these people who were married, met as children with nothing, immigrants into this country, built a life, a family, married for 74 years. They were married for 74 years. My grandfather was 101 when my grandmother died at 91. He was 10 years older than her. And at her funeral, he was like throwing himself over the coffin, blaming the doctors. Like, could not accept the fact that she died so young. That, to me, is one of the greatest love stories never told. So And I'm sure I am one of a million that has a story like that, whether it's about their grandparents, their parents, their great-grandparents, possibly themselves. So when we say things like greatest love story never told, I could probably start a podcast where I bring other people on and they can tell us about their family members who aren't celebrities, who aren't anybody in the news, who aren't in film, who aren't total narcissists that think everything is about them and they're the greatest example of everything. That could probably tell us the greatest love stories never told. But on that note, we were talking about cuffing season, and I think I went off into a little rant because you said something that sparked something in me to want to talk about that. But I think dating in general, I was talking to one of my friends the other day. I really wanted a comedy career. I wanted to pay my bills through comedy. It is what I wanted more than a marriage, more than a home. It was the foundation for who I felt I was going to be. I felt once I had that, I would be able to obtain everything else that I wanted. And I put in the time. I put in the work. I couldn't do comedy full time and pay my bills. I had to have a full-time job, do comedy on the side, and work every waking minute I could to try and move up. If you want a relationship longer than from October to before Valentine's Day, you have to make it a second job. And that can sound, extreme. Not in today's society. First of all, I don't know how many people are comfortable with online dating, but the accessibility is right there. I am one of the rare people that walked into a restaurant and met a partner. That doesn't happen anymore. Or I feel like you hear of it much less. But you have to be accessible. You have to be exposed. You have to be on the scene. And what greater scene than being able to be in your pajamas on your couch with your cup of coffee in your hand, scrolling through pictures. Now listen, I speak from experience because I did do it. I did not meet my life partner on it, but I did 100% meet good people on it. So I don't knock it. I don't knock any. I know two girls that I was friends with growing up that met their husbands. They have children. I think that was back in the day on Tinder, to show you how much these apps have evolved from what they initially. I think apps were initially for like cuffing season, right? They were only for like hooking up with people short term. Well, guess what? Feelings are feelings. So anybody out there looking for a short-term partner, be careful what you wish for, because you may get a long-term partner out of it. I think you can't control it. Don't put a timestamp on it. I get if you don't want to be lonely during the winter, don't settle. Don't spend your time with somebody who doesn't deserve it just because you don't want to be alone. Value yourself. It's spending time alone. I learned so much about who I am, what I want, what I need, more importantly than anything. And you know what? You can get cozy on your couch these days. We have so many more things to not make us feel lonely. We learned that during the pandemic, right? We have Zoom, we have FaceTime. You can watch almost about anything you want on TV. You have podcasts. There's live comedy shows you can go to. Hint, hint, again. So, cuffing season, listen, if it's for you, cheers. If you're single and want to meet someone, stay the course. Look at it as a job. It's okay to look at it that way. Anything we want these days takes work. Comedy careers, relationships, children, which will be a topic for another podcast. Just put in the time. Have faith. Believe in yourself. Take a deep breath. We put timestamps on everything. Trust me, I get it. But don't settle. All right, guys. It's Monday. Go kick ass. I love you guys for tuning in. Cheers. Cawfee Talk.